You're listening to Next on the Tee with Chris Mascaro, where PGA and LPGA legends, pros and top instructors come to share their stories, insights and tips. Now, back to you, Chris.
All right, now back with me and making his actually 12th appearance here on Next on the Tee is my good friend Eric Johnson. Let me remind you about Eric's background. Played his college golf and was a 4-year letterman at Mississippi State from 1992 to 1995. Helped them win back-to-back Kroger Intercollegiate titles in 94 and 95. Golf Magazine has named Eric a top 100 instructor every year since 2011. And he was also recognized by Golf Digest as a top 40 under 40 teacher. He's a 3-time Tri-State PGA Teacher of the Year, a 2-time Horton Smith Award winner for his contributions to education. He's played out on the Canadian Tour, the Sunshine Tour, and the Golden Bear Tour. Eric was the director of instruction at Oakmont Country Club for many years, and he is now the director of instruction over at Nemacolin Woodlands Resort, which looks like an absolutely fantastic place up in Farmington, Pennsylvania, which is a little southeast of Pittsburgh near the West Virginia border. And not only is Eric one of my favorite guests, he is really one of my favorite people on the planet, and I'm honored he's back with me again tonight here on Next on the Tee. Hey, how are you, my friend?
Hey, Chris, thank you very much. Again, you're the most prepared and most enjoyable host that I've ever talked to in the game and on these shows. And so thank you for that wonderful introduction. I really appreciate it, buddy. Thank you.
Absolutely, Eric. So, Eric, let's talk a little bit tonight about Tiger Woods and winning for the first time in 5 years, something that many of us thought would never happen again. So your thoughts on what you saw from Tiger over the weekend, and does this make him the man to beat now heading into 2019?
Well, after 14 surgeries, we can say it publicly. There's public embarrassment. There was the DUI. There was the yips. There was a ton of things to overcome there. And to think that he has done that and overcome such great adversity, my hat's off to him. I've said for a long time I wasn't sure that he would win again, because I never thought the so-called quote-unquote comebacks were real comebacks. They didn't look like they were comebacks. They looked like he was like dabbling and he was going to go out and play a little bit. But this one looks totally different. I mean, he looks healthy. His golf swing looks great. Now, being an instructor, that's an interesting one for me, because personally, I think that he listened to a lot of really smart guys that didn't let him free up and play golf. And now I think with the void of the instruction and the over-instruction, so to speak, I think he's getting back to his inner golf DNA. I really do. I mean, I think that at the end of the day, we all, if you look at our swings from when we were kids and now, I mean, they don't really change that much. I mean, they change a little bit, but instinctually there's something in all of us. And when you take a Tiger that, when we think back of the Masters, when he won his first time, I mean, he moved off the ball a lot. And then he was taught, well, in 97, then he went through, the Harmon years, and where I thought he was just unbeatable. And then went to Haney, and then went to, Sean Foley and Chris Como. And I think they got him a little more centered, and I don't think they gave him enough time to get back to the ball. And you can't take that out of a great player like that. So what he did there was unbelievable. Sustainable? I don't know. I mean, he has never ceased to amaze me yet. I never seem to bet against him because he does stuff like he did, at the Tour Championship. Unbelievable performance.
So, Eric, I don't know if you saw the video that was put out on Twitter today by the PGA of America, but they asked him, it's a video of him, asked him who should be on the Mount Rushmore of golf. And he said, Snead, Jones, Nicklaus, and me. Is he right?
Oh, my. Mr. Humble Pie there. I guess if I had to rank it, maybe from a historical perspective, I might say Snead, Nicklaus, Jones, Palmer. But, maybe we'll be adding more to Mount Rushmore. Maybe Trump can get his name up there too. I don't know. Or safe. I don't know. Make America great again. I don't know. Sorry about that. But 80 wins, 14 majors. He probably has a pretty good, I'm going to go with it. I think he should be up there. I really do. I'm going with him.
Yeah, no, I mean, I would
maybe
certainly
not the most humble thing he's ever said, but I like it.
Yeah, I wouldn't argue Tiger is the one that wouldn't be up there. And again, I'm a huge Sam Snead fan. I love, all the things that he achieved over the course of his career, the 82 wins, 7 majors, and the longevity that he had, still competing in top 10s in PGAs in his 60s. That's how great he was. But, I might probably the greatest international player of all time and 170 plus wins and 9 majors. I might go Gary Player there. But anyway. Curious also to get your thought, Eric. I thought we were in for one of the duels of the ages, or at least it could have been on Sunday with Tiger and Rory being in the final group of the Tour Championship. But Rory goes out and he bogeys 4, 5, 8. He doubles 7 and, really was never a factor. Rose never really mounted a charge. So your thoughts when you look at those two guys, and now you're kind of going back in time to the great Tiger of years ago, certainly 5 years ago at minimum. Is Tiger going to be a guy that sort of makes these guys melt yet again? Now you got the young guns, right? You got the, Justin Thomases and the Jordan Spieths and the Ricky Fowlers and all those guys who never, sort of half wished that they had an opportunity to play against Tiger. And again, careful what you wish for. But is this going to be a Tiger where the crowd and his play starts to make guys melt again?
Well, you sure saw it on Sunday. I couldn't believe Justin Rose and Rory McIlroy. Now, Rory McIlroy might be a little bit more understandable than Justin Rose. But again, when you look back at back in the days in 2000 and when he won 8-9 times and he was just destroying fields, and he just really destroyed a lot of egos and psyches. Like what he did to Phil and Ernie Els and Steve Stricker and all those guys that played with him, and you look back at the groups that played with him, no one really ever played very good. And you would think that deep down in, you'd be like, man, I want to show this guy that I can do it. But for whatever reason, it seemed like everybody just choked it away. And I hate to use that word, but they just did not come up with their A game. And, Justin Rose, look at his career that he's had, was world number 1 and the way he was playing, and then to flounder, and Rory, 4 or 5 over and then makes the birdie on the last hole. But, it was what we used to watch. And I don't think these young guys quite understand what they ask for. When they say, oh, I want Tiger, well, okay. Well, you just got him, and I don't think anybody liked it other than Tiger and all the fans, so I think with all the surgeries, we just don't know. We don't know how his body's going to react. We don't know, there's a lot of questions out there, but man, that was some performance. Now, I will say this too. Tiger seems to not be able to close the way he used to. If you look back at the British Open, he stuffed it in there 5-6 feet on the last hole and misses it. And Francesco Molinari drains it from exactly the same spot. And that's the stuff that Tiger would have never done in the past. And you saw a little bit of that coming down the stretch. He made a couple bogeys and, made an incredible up and down on 17, which basically secured him the win. No one had bogeyed the 18th hole the whole day. Let alone to make a double. So you knew he was probably going to win then, but, he did kind of flounder coming in a little bit. And I just think that the younger Tiger might not have done some of that, but you know what? Hey, you got to win, and wins are hard to get. And, when you think wins are hard to get and he's got 80 and 14 majors, that's some quite impressive career. Maybe Mount Rushmore worthy. Maybe it probably is.
So, Eric, let's extrapolate that a little bit forward and talk about the Ryder Cup. Because when you look at Tiger's record in the Ryder Cup, 4-1-1 in singles, but 9-16-1 in foursomes and four ball. Why do you think his partners seem to struggle so much when they're paired with him?
Well, I think there's a couple things there, Chris. I really honestly think that he was such a introvert and never let anyone in his circle before that I don't think the guys knew how to play with him. Like they didn't know if he was rooting for him or not. And I mean, he's got that killer instinct in him. And quite frankly, that's what I think most of that was. I think they were like maybe a little intimidated to play with him and a little bit intimidated, like, am I good enough to play with this guy? And then we saw when Hal Sutton put Tiger and Phil out, and, I mean, it was just a debacle. I mean, absolute debacle. And, because they didn't like each other. And I think that's why you look at the Seve and Olazabal pairing. I mean, they're countrymen. They love each other to death. They'll kill for the other guy, and I think that was missing a little bit from Tiger. Maybe he thought it was a little bit exhibitionish. I don't know. I think that might have been a statement that maybe he'd want to take back. But I just don't think he was friends enough with some of the guys he was playing with. You look at the successful pairings, and they're all good. They're kind of good pals, and they kind of know each other's game. And I know when I'm playing in team events, I pick a guy that, like, he knows I'm going to hit it all over the place, and I'm going to make some putts, and I'm going to make birdies, and I'm going to make bogeys, and just hang in there with me. And if you give me long enough, we're gonna win. But I just honestly think that maybe he wasn't friendly enough with the guys, and maybe that's why his combination pairings weren't that special.
So if you were Captain Furyk, who would you pair with him?
Bryson DeChambeau. I think those two have a little. I think those two have played a lot of practice rounds together. I don't know what the whole niche is there. I mean, you saw Tiger looking at the putting thing with Bryson the other day, but they played a lot of they play a lot together. I think Phil Mickelson, I think those two have a great relationship, or a much better relationship now. I'm not sure I'd put them together, but I think the golf world would maybe like to see it, but I don't think that that's going to happen. I'd love to see Dustin Johnson and Brooks Koepka. I think they would just flog people. I think it would be not even close. I think that, when you look at, and you know what? Phil's been pretty sneaky about picking really, really good partners who he wants to play with. If you look at over the past, I mean, like he takes Ricky Fowler. Well, God almighty. I mean, if there's one kid that's ready for that stage, it's Ricky Fowler. And yeah, he's young, whatever, but they won a lot of matches, and I think it's interesting to see I think it would be interesting to see Ricky and Jordan Spieth, or maybe like Justin Thomas and a Jordan Spieth, good friends. Mm-hmm. Now, when you start looking at the list, though, when you look at like Team USA, who's playing good and who isn't, you go down the list. I mean, Koepka is playing great. Dustin Johnson, great. Justin Thomas, great. Patrick Reed, fair. Bubba Watson, I don't know where he's been. Jordan Spieth, don't know where he's been. Ricky Fowler's been playing good. Webb Simpson's been playing good. Phil is the ultimate mystery. I mean, he hasn't played good for a while. I mean, really, when we look at it. But you know what? Look what he did. He wasn't playing good coming into the last Ryder Cup, and he shot 63 in the final round against, who was it? Who was it? Sergio. And then you look at, Tiger's playing awesome. I mean, he's gonna be a factor. Bryson DeChambeau is playing great, and Tony Finau, he's playing great. Now, if you look at the European team, Justin Rose playing great, Rory McIlroy, I'd say good. I'm not going to say great. Francesco Molinari, great. Tommy Fleetwood's playing great. John Rahm's playing great. Alex Norton's playing good. Terrell Hatton's playing good. Paul Casey, not so much. Hendrik Stenson, where the heck has he been? Ian Poulter, he had some success this year, but that's a little bit of a question mark. Sergio has been a serious question mark, and Thurber Olsen has been a question mark for me. So when I look at it, I think the United States of America, if we can pair them correctly, I think we trounce them. That being said, I'm sure we'll see, Sergio and Rahm together, put the Spaniards together, and and Stenson and Polder. We'll probably see some of that stuff, and but it'll be interesting to see the pairings and how. I'd love some dream pairings though too. Could you imagine? Could you imagine Tiger Polder or DJ Justin Rose, Phil and Garcia again, Reed and Rory, Koepka, Molinari, like the major champion guys? I mean, if I had to do this and I was a TV guy, I'd say, guys, these are the 5 I want. Period. These have to be played because everyone wants to watch it. The needle will go through the roof. Oh.
So, but to that end, Eric, right, based on what we just saw on Sunday, if you're Furyk, would you match Tiger up against Rory because you saw how Rory melted? You figure you take that away, or do you go back to the Patrick Reed-Rory one because it was such great drama 2 years ago?
Man, it was such an epic duel last time. I mean, I think the world will. I bet you deep down Rory's like, please give me this kid again, because there's no way he can do that again. But I don't know. I mean, Patrick Reed's been playing. I'd say he's been playing good. I'd say fair. I don't think he's been playing great. I would love to. I'd love to see Tiger and Polder, because I just love to see someone get right back up in his face and say, "Oh, really? Is that what you want?" Okay. I would personally love to see that. And then if he didn't beat him on the golf course, we'd have like a cage match afterwards, have a WrestleMania or something. But, and we know Tiger would win that. But, so I'm sorry, Chris, I went off there, but I'd love to see it. But I think whoever he kind of plays against, especially in the singles, will probably, maybe tail off a little bit. That'd be my guess.
So something else you mentioned a moment ago, Eric, is should we have any concern on the U.S. side when you see, Phil and Bubba, Patrick Reed, you were just talking about, even Brooks Koepka, all finished at the bottom of the leaderboard at the Tour Championship. But goodness knows, Phil and Bubba were a combined 23 over par. I'm hoping they were working on different shots because they were so far out of it that they were just practicing for this event. But any concern about those guys coming into this thing having finished at the, in the last 4 spots for championship?
I have no concern about Koepka. I honestly, the biggest concern I would have would be Bubba. I mean, he's just hard to figure out. I mean, he'll play great and then you don't hear from him for months. And when you watch his putting, it looks really, really nervy. And, so I don't know. I mean, that's what Phil has the most flair for dramatics of anybody I think I've ever seen in my life. I don't worry about him. I think the bigger the stage, the bigger he plays, the bigger he is, and the more he just shows up. I think, didn't play a good first round, and I think he, maybe phoned it in a little bit, like and I hope he's out there getting reps and doing whatever, and I hope he finds it, but I really think he will. I mean, you look at Jordan Spieth, he's a hair of a question mark for me, and I'll tell you why. When you look at the year he had a couple years ago, and he really hasn't played that great this year, and I think we'd all agree with that compared to the last couple years. And I think that he had like the Tiger Woods moment with, with Dustin Johnson when they're playing on a playoff and Rory had to go up the middle. DJ knocked it over that lake and had a sand wedge in. Rory had a 6-iron in. The game's over. And I think he realized that. And when you watch his putting right now, his putting is not that good. And I think we'd all agree with that. His putting is not where it needs to be. And I think that's because, from a personal standpoint, I think he feels like he has to putt great because he can't out-ball strike Koepka or Johnson, maybe a Justin Thomas for that matter. He just can't out-ball strike him. And when you see somebody that's that dominant and not afraid to hit it 330 over a lake and they cut off this and you got to go that way, that's a little bit of a humble pie sensation there. It's a little unnerving. And I personally think that's what's happened to him a little bit. So, if you get him with the right pairing, I think he's going to do pretty well. But if he gets against some of these bombers, I don't think he'll do, all that well, maybe in the singles, but that's my take on that.
Yeah. So, I mean, let me expand on that just for a second. So, yeah, we have seen Jordan in un-Jordan-like, right, with putting. All of a sudden, he went from being one of the best putters in the world and a guy that was making everything from 25 feet to a guy who's missing stuff inside of 2. So do you think it's a lack of confidence? It's all of a sudden now I'm putting too much pressure on my putting because I can't hang with these guys otherwise? Is that what it is?
That's what I personally think. Chris, I've seen him live. I've saw him at Oakmont and when I was there for 13 years and saw him at the last Open, and I mean he hits it good. Don't mistake that. I mean he hits it good, but it's not Koepka long. It's not Dustin Johnson long. I mean I don't even think it's Justin Thomas long. I mean Justin can really bomb it for a little guy. It's not Bubba Watson long. Ricky hits it hard. Phil can still dig deep. I mean, Tiger had one of the fastest clubhead speeds on the tour this year. So when you look at that stuff and you're playing against these guys and you measure yourself against your competitors, and I know we shouldn't, but we all are guilty of it. We look at it and say, well, what's this guy doing? What's this guy doing? And well, if some guy's hitting at 30, 40 yards by you, well, that really sends a little chill up your spine. And that probably puts the most pressure on the best thing that you do. Like he has putted it, especially 2 years ago, I mean, putted it like no one we've ever saw and made everything. And now it's like, he's like, I gotta make these. And he looks, and I've always said this too. And if you go back on your shows, I've always said this. He always looks a little bit too jumpy to me. He's, for such a great player, Tiger never, ever looked like that. I mean, goes back to the 2006 Canadian Open, the first professional win. I mean, commentators like, oh, it looks like he's laying up, but wait a minute, he's got an iron. Oh, he's going at it. Whoa, he hit a 6-iron, 218 yards over a lake out of a bunker. Now, no one would do that, and he didn't even flinch. He got out there, and hit it. Where you see Jordan is just very jumpy. He's like always getting a towel. He's always wiping something off. He's always, okay, how far was it? He just doesn't look like a player that's calm. And, when I think you play against a player that looks very calm and you see someone that's not, you're like a shark. There's blood in the water. You know it. And I think that's my personal take on that. I'm sure some people have their other opinions, but that's mine. And I really stand by that too. I really feel like he's just not as confident as we've seen him in the past.
Yeah, and I agree 100% with that, Eric. I feel the same way, especially when you see him like at the Open Championship last year, and the shot on 13 and stuff like that. Sometimes I think the pressure gets to Jordan a little bit, and then he needs something positive to get himself going, and it obviously came through. But I get concerned about him in final rounds.
Yeah, and you know what? And I love him to death too. I wish him all the best. So please don't misunderstand that either. It's just an observation.
Just a couple more before we let you go, Eric. A couple quick ones. Yep. One, we've got your fellow former assistant pro from Oakmont joining me later on the show, Paul Rameh, and wanted to get your favorite Paul Rameh story.
He's got too many on me. I can't give you my favorite one, Chris, but it has to do with his bachelor party, which was an embarrassment. But I will say, that's all I'm going to say. I promise I won't say another word because he's got way too many on me. He's a piece of garbage. No, I'm just kidding, Paul. I love him to death. He was the first assistant at Oakmont when I was an up and comer, and beat me up pretty good back there. So you tell him I still have a little scars from all the jockey marks that he hit me with. But you tell him that too. I hope he's
all right. I will.
But tell him
I got to get a quick thought on our Steelers before we let you go. Finally got off the schneid last night, though was unimpressive as always with the defense. What are your thoughts?
Well, when we're tied with the Browns, I have serious doubts. I mean, come on. What happened? Le'Veon Bell? I mean, Antonio Brown's acting like a schoolgirl. Ben looks like he can't hold on to it. Oh my goodness gracious. Lord help us all. I don't know. We live and die by the Steelers, and, when you're from Pittsburgh, the deal. You root for the Pirates and the Pens, and man, I thought coming into this year we're Super Bowl contenders. And,
Yeah.
and I really legit thought that. And the way we started, I mean, I hate to borrow Johnny Miller's thing. I think we'd be lucky if we won the Hershey Bar Open right now. I mean, it's just crazy. I don't know. I mean, it's a little sad with the lack of discipline, you know, and I hate to say it, Chris, I almost wonder if we're like a regular season team, you know, where we want to be, you know, great and win in playoffs, but then, you know, we just lose in the playoffs, you know, and we're a great team and we got some great talent. Now you just, maybe I'm a little disappointed at some of the discipline, and I don't know if I blame Tomlin on that, but maybe I do a little bit, but I think with all that talent, we should be just a little bit more, you know, well, we don't see that with Bill Belichick, right? I mean, at the end of the day, he's probably the best coach that's ever coached. So,
Eric, before we let you go, let our listeners know, remind them again about your website, ericjohnsongolf.com, which is fantastic, and if someday we'll ever see you out on social media.
Okay, so listen, I got an Instagram thing now. I've got like 119 followers, and I'm all pumped up about that. My assistant Patrick Kane's been all over me, like, you got to do Instagram. So I'm doing it, Eric Johnson Golf, ericjohnsongolf.com. Check us out on nemacolin.com. It's a phenomenal resort. The Hardy family's built something incredibly special here. And I'm in Golf Magazine this month. Quick tip on, you know, square in the face to joint alignment. Next month I'm in there doing bunker shot, high bunker shots. So take a peek. Let me know what you think. And Chris, I can't thank you enough for having me, buddy.
Eric, you're a special guy, and I appreciate you very much. You've been a great friend of the show and a great friend to me, and I can't thank you for all the things that you've done for me. So appreciate your time again tonight. Look forward to catching up with you again real soon.
No worries. Hey, by the way, you didn't come up this summer, and I'm mad. Where were you?
Yeah, you know what? I should have done it, and my apologies. We'll make it happen.
All right, buddy. Well, you're on the hook now.
All right. Fair enough. You got me.
Thanks, buddy.
All right. See you, man.
Bye-bye.
That's Eric Johnson, and they don't come better, folks. EricJohnsonGolf.com, and hopefully we'll get him out there on social media, and looking forward to catching up with him again real soon. I always have so much fun when Eric's a part of the show. He's just one of the great people you get to meet in this life.